this number. Then all of a sudden we thought, well, we can do better than 70. Let's try to get to 75. And then I said, there's no way. We're not going to stop at 75. Let's try to do something that's unprecedented. Let's get to 85%. 85% of those 65 years of age and older. Now think about it. Think about it. 85%. My good Lord of living, if we could get to a situation in West Virginia where we only had 15% of our total population that was unvaccinated, not only would we absolutely be on easy street, not only would we be way, way, way rid of the mask, and we'll get rid of the mask way before we get to that, but absolutely, wouldn't we have saved so many lives, it's unbelievable. They're on the way. They're on the way to getting to 85%. This number absolutely just is so gratifying and so good. Today, the people that are 65 years of age and older in the state of West Virginia that have had at least one shot is 79.4%. It's amazing, amazing. And we're going to keep it up till we get to that 85, but that's great, great work. I remind you that our businesses, our manufacturers, our churches and everything, all you got to do is call us and we'll come running and we'll do the vaccinations there to your congregation, to your employees, and absolutely it'll just help more and more. Please step up and help us there. Businesses, manufacturers, absolutely our churches, give us a call. And we'll set up and we'll come. From the standpoint of our state parks, I've told you over and over, as a part of our ongoing efforts to get more West Virginians vaccinated, we're going to hold free vaccination clinics to all West Virginia state, at all West Virginia state parks between now and Memorial Day. And before Memorial Day, we're going to start with several high traffic parks, and we'll add more as needed. On Memorial Day weekend, all West Virginia state parks and forests will offer vaccines to employees, employees' families, and park guests. Our clinics will be set up at Central Park locations, all outdoors, and all the details are posted on the westvirginiastateparks.com. The COVID vaccine info line's up, vaccine reminders. I've told you over and over, quit listening to the dark of the closet or the garbage that says, you know, if you get this vaccine, you're going to grow antlers or something. Quit listening to that garbage. It's just plain garbage. Your exposure is so much greater. It is unbelievable, your exposure and everything to this dreaded disease and all the possible side effects and all the problems and everything, versus taking the vaccine. Taking the vaccine is so safe, it is unbelievable, and if you don't entrust in me, you surely to goodness got to entrust in all the medical team and all the medical experts, because they're the ones that I put my faith in. They're the ones that are supposed to have the knowledge. They're the ones that do have the knowledge. All of our testing, I encourage you to get tested, especially if you have any symptoms whatsoever. All the free testing is up. There's our testing map. I thank Fruth and I thank Walgreens over and over and over. You know, from the standpoint of our long-term care facilities, we've got 16 outbreaks in our long-term care facilities. We have 8 outbreaks in our church community in 7 counties now: Berkeley, Grant, Greenbrier, Hardy, Jackson, Nicholas, and Ritchie counties. We got to really watch there, and we can do better than this, but I thank you for all that you've already done. At corrections, we're down to 32 inmate cases and 11 staff cases. That's, of the 32, 28 of them are at the Southern Regional Jail. I've told you that we're still under mandate to wear your mask in the public buildings and everything. Absolutely, there's never been a mask, a mandate as far as being outdoors. It is something that we all will celebrate getting rid of, and we'll do that absolutely right upon the recommendation of our medical community, and And the other thing I'll promise you is I'll promise you this, that on Friday, when we come together Friday, I'll give you a number. I'm going to be asking our medical community to give me a percentage number, to give me an absolute number to where one of the first steps we can take is we can take to where we move to get rid of this mask. And so I'll be giving you that number on Friday and on a report from them. And the only other thing I remind you of is giving blood. Please, if you've been blessed with recovery from this dreaded disease, please consider giving blood. We need it. We need it really badly. It's your gift to be able to save another life. So if you're God above has blessed you, and you can, very safely give blood and everything, I think it's your obligation to consider that from the standpoint of blessing somebody and giving them that gift back. So thank you so much. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Governor. Let's now go to West Virginia Superintendent of Schools, Clayton Birch.
Thank you, Jordan, and good afternoon. I want to talk a little bit today about some of the action plans happening. We know that the governor has asked and focused on all West Virginians getting vaccinated. And we're so fortunate that we're able to really get into the schools and focus on our 16 to 18-year-olds that are still in school, but also our young teachers. In the last week and a half, I've had the opportunity to be out in the schools. In the last month, we've held parent focus groups, teacher groups, and even though we had student focus groups, I wanted to be out in the schools. And I just want to thank Nicholas County High School, Woodrow Wilson High School, Point Pleasant High School, Raleigh County Career Technical Center, Nicholas County Career Technical Center. Those were just the last schools in the last week I've been to. And it's interesting that each and every student almost says the same thing no matter what community they're in. First and foremost, they're all thankful to be back in school. They realize, even as high school students, elementary students, middle school students, how important it was to be back in school face to face. But the interesting thing that we've been able to talk about in these student roundtables is, what does the future look like? Some of them going off to college next year, some of them wanting to get back to some normalcy for next year. And it all came back to vaccinations. And each one of these students talked about the role vaccinations will play in the future of school. Now, there is one young man out there that I think had one of the best taglines for all of his underclassmen friends. And this young man was a senior, and he says, listen, Superintendent Birch, I'll make it very, very simple. I would tell all of my friends and peers in high school, if you don't want your senior year next year or your high school year next year to suck, get a vaccination. Just do it. And he made me laugh, but he also, he sent a very poignant message that even our young people are talking about the power of what this vaccination could do for them. And it didn't matter whether they were AP students, career technical education students, students that might be in the JROTC. They all had the same message. It is the only way they see forward to get back to some normalcy and to protect themselves and their families. And I know the governor understands that the Department of Education, we did not want to come out when we announced and we pushed with the team that you see each and every week here, that we're going to focus on our teachers, that we're going to focus on our students, and just have aspirational plans of what will we do. So I think it's important for the public to know that right now, you can go to the West Virginia Department of Education homepage, wvde.us. There are right now videos that we've posted, everything from a message to parents and children from Dr. Clay Marsh. We have videos from local pharmacies talking about the role they played in this past year in vaccinations, testing. In fact, even very small local pharmacies. We went up to New Cumberland, West Virginia in Hancock County. Davis Pharmacy in New Cumberland, West Virginia is highlighted in one of these videos, and how they, as a local health leader, can really support the community. And they've been on board, many across the state have been on board to help share that message. And it's interesting that the governor mentions that we can't get caught up in some of these stories on social media about the vaccine. We heard that time in and time out from the students, from the teachers, from the families that we've really got to do a much better job educating folks how important this is. So we're so proud of the team that we have here. And again, those videos are live, upcoming actually next week on our month-long tour in the schools. We have been capturing videos from our students. And we are going to be posting testimonials next week from high school students across the state in our travels and their views on the vaccination. And we have overwhelmingly been so supported by students and principals and superintendents. We talk about the clinics being available throughout the state. We have invested about $34 million out of CARES funding to support summer programming in all 55 counties this summer. And as the governor stated, these programs, we will ensure that there is a partnership and a way to make sure that any child, hopefully soon down to 12 years old, will have the opportunity to have the vaccination. But even more important, those are not limited to just the children in that school. We welcome all. So all partners that are doing testing and vaccinations, we are now open. We want it to be for all. And finally, I do want to say that the more and more we learn about this vaccination, and Dr. Marsh explained this in some recent videos we did for young people, they do understand what we've had to do this year, and we know we hear the term resilient, and they've had to pivot. And, you know, one thing that we've talked about in the last several weeks is just how much these students have paid attention to what it takes to make their school year continue and be safe. I know we have sporting events continuing now. We have proms and graduations upcoming. And I know we're still in an indoor mask ordinance, but out of 640 schools, of that, there's 114 high schools in the state, 152 middle schools. We are now down to about 40 total outbreaks across the entire state, and that's actually pretty good for where we are with so much activity getting back to normal. So thank the students, thank the teachers. We're going to continue working week in and week out with our principals and superintendents to assist us as a state in promoting and getting these vaccinations out there for our young people. So Jordan, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Next, we'll go to Dr. Clay Marsh, our coronavirus czar.
Well, good afternoon. And to follow up with what the governor said and with what Superintendent Birch said, you know, we are very, very focused on helping make sure that we are providing all of the information that we possibly can so that younger West Virginians, including our students and the folks that we see now over the last 7 days, have the highest rate of positive testing, which is our 10 to 19-year-old group, to see that they receive the information and their parents and their grandparents and the people that love them so that they can make the wisest decision with their family. And as Superintendent Birch said, you know, we believe the way back to a more regular life for our students is through choosing vaccination. We also know that this group of students, particularly with the variants, the United Kingdom variant being the most common in West Virginia, are at risk to becoming infected. And as they may become infected, this virus is much more easily spreadable to other people. So they may, without having any intention, infect other people in their family or friends or community who are, you know, much more vulnerable and who may suffer many more severe consequences, particularly if those people are not vaccinated. So we are really calling out to all of our parents and grandparents, much like we called out to our younger West Virginians earlier, to protect these more older, vulnerable citizens, residents of West Virginia, in our Operation Save Our Wisdom. Now we are turning the telescope around and asking that our parents and grandparents really start to reach out and help our younger West Virginians choose to be vaccinated, because you as a younger person in West Virginia are our future, and we want to protect our future just like we wanted to save our wisdom. As we look at the Food and Drug Administration and the CDC, we do anticipate that the Pfizer vaccine will likely be given emergency use authorization sometime within the next week. The country of Canada has just okayed that vaccine for 12 to 15-year-olds, and we believe it will follow very quickly in our country. So this will give us additional opportunities, as the governor said, to increase the number of West Virginians that we are able to offer vaccination to, because ultimately, as we can approach these larger numbers that the governor said, in that range of 70 to 80% of our total population, then we believe that that will be the range of herd immunity. And even if we're not able to reach that immediately, we know that the more West Virginians we vaccinate, the lower the number of cases of COVID-19, the less the variants can continue to spread, which makes all of us at risk, and also the less people that will be hospitalized and die of COVID-19. Lastly, I will say that there has been guidance from the CDC on camping in the summer, and that guidance has been relatively roundly criticized for being overly conservative. So as the governor has really done with the state in balancing the ability to make sure that we are able to get back to what we hope to be able to offer to each citizen, to each resident, to each student, getting back in school, getting back together, being able to play sports, to be back in, in the activities that we see not only as being very enjoyable, but also as reconnecting back to reduce, mental health problems, isolation problems, that this balance between, separation and protection and coming back together is really one that most importantly is affected by how many West Virginians we can have fully vaccinated. So West Virginia is, again, our time to lead and to shine. And we hope that this will be really embraced by families and by younger West Virginians as it has been by our Operation Save Our Wisdom.
All right, thank you, Dr. Marsh. Next, we'll go to retired Major General Jim Hoyer, the director of our Joint Interagency Task Force.
Good afternoon. Just follow up on a couple of items as the governor presses us to continue to engage in schools, and Superintendent Birch pointed out the work being done. We are prepared to begin to execute as soon as the authorization is made available for 12 to 15-year-olds. But as the governor pointed out, we will continue to make those clinics available to all family members, continue to reinforce the effort to 16 to 18-year-old students. Our interagency task force team, I want to thank them, along with Deputy Superintendent Michelle Blatt, as well as the SSAC, for a lot of work being done behind the scenes to coordinate all these activities and to make sure that we get to the maximum number of students and family members possible. So we will continue to work that. We do have plenty of Pfizer vaccine available for this effort, and we'll continue to order additional Pfizer vaccine to target that population upon the approval. As the governor pointed out, a lot of efforts going on with tourism and DNR to be prepared to do our state parks and do events at our state parks and make sure that they are done safely. So a lot of great work continues to be done behind the scenes. I want to thank all the members of the Interagency Task Force and our many partners for the great work going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll now go to questions from members of the media. The first today from Charles Young with WV News.
Hi, this is Charles Young with WV News. Yesterday, the Biden administration announced that it was going to be changing how it allocates vaccines to states. States are now going to be able to turn down some or part of their allocation so that it can be used by states where it might be more needed or more accepted. So I was wondering, is this change going to have any effect on, any of our plans, any of our ordering? Are we going to be reducing our allotments since we sort of hit this wall, or are we ramping up in line with these new initiatives? Thank you.
Well, Charles, I'm going to defer to General Hoyer, but before I defer, I would tell you that, it's been my viewpoint of this, that we don't need to start dramatically reducing our ordering system, because we don't want to get in a situation where we're wasting vaccinations. We don't want to get in that. But we sure don't want to get in a situation to where we have a real need and then we're scrambling again to try to some way, somehow come up with the vaccine. So, General, you can add a whole lot more about this than I know, but please go ahead.
Yes, sir, Governor. Charles, it doesn't really change significantly what we do now. As you know, we've had a number of challenges in the road. When Johnson & Johnson was pulled off for a period of time, we had to manage getting more of other doses. Now we're back in with Johnson & Johnson. We manage issues related to shelf life of all vaccines. So we also have partnered across FEMA Region 3, the various states, to work allocations where needed. So as the governor points out, we can't really take our foot off the gas on this, and we got to continue to do it. And our team at the Interagency Task Force does a great job of managing behind the scenes allocation of which specific vaccines in given weeks. And remember too, we've got folks that continue to need booster doses. So starting next week, we're already at the point of booster doses for 16 to 18-year-olds in our school system. So a lot of things that continue to require us to maximize our capability.
All right, thank you, Charles. Next, we'll go to Annie Moore with WVVA.
Governor, I know you worked hard to keep the St. Stephen's Episcopal Day School open. With the school closing this May, do you have any comment on that?
Oh, Annie, I really, I hate it, and everything. I don't really know a tremendous amount of the details and everything, and I'll be able to share more about that with you in the days to come. But I hate to see any of our institutions, and that's surely been that institution in Beckley for a long, long, long time. And I guess I was there a few years ago, and as one of the students, but nevertheless, what an incredible run that they've had, and a lot of congratulations to go their way. And I'm sure that there's a life cycle on everything, but boy, this has really been a staple for that area for a long, long, long time.
All right, thank you, Andy. Next to Bob Aaron with WCHS and Fox 11.
Governor, we started out with a well-organized, exemplary effort in getting vaccines out, led the nation. Now looking around, it seems like we're having more trouble getting shots than some of our surrounding states into people. And given the fragile nature of our population, are we looking at some bad outcome down the road, or have we gotten enough vaccines in the elderly to avoid that? It just seems like we're really up against the wall here.
Well, Bob, let's be fair again, okay? I was critical over the fact that I felt like that we needed to be able to tell our story, and we have a lot of good things that were happening in West Virginia. In fact, I said, to just be perfectly honest, you just got, if we have trouble getting it here, just watch what's getting ready to happen in the national news. And because I had already had all kinds of the national news calling saying, what in the world's going on in West Virginia? It's just the greatest story in the history of all time. And it made us all proud. And even though I think you guys may have been a little late to the party, I think we all jumped on, and it was a really nice run that we had. Now, with that, let's be perfectly fair again. We got out in the race and led the way to getting our people vaccinated. Every state's going to hit some level of resistance When Johnson & Johnson came out, that was a cannonball to everybody when we paused the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And really, it was probably a terrible mistake. I mean, we lost 6 or 7 people over millions, and we absolutely, reacted on a knee jerk, and then put a lot of reluctancy into a lot of folks. Now, Bob, what have we done? What have we done again? Now we've stepped back and we've said, okay, we've recognized that we're hitting a wall. And what do? We come out with a $100 initiative to try to get our people 16 to 35 going. We came out and put a real focus on 16 to 35. Look what's happening right now. Just look what's happening. You've got the Department of Education that's all go. You've got the Broadcasters Association all go. You've got absolutely all kinds of things that are happening in West Virginia to where we're ramping again. West Virginia is going to end up leading the way again. If I have anything to do with it, at least I'm going to try. I'm going to try with all in me in every way. So the net of the whole thing is this poor little state that a lot of people looked at as backward and behind and all that. That poor little state led the way. That poor little state, like every other state in the country, if they are going to, all of us are going to meet some level of resistance. Johnson & Johnson came out and did their thing just like that. And when that happened, more resistance. And then what did we do again? That poor little state, the backward state, reacted again. And we did so with our savings bond effort, with the emphasis on our 16 to 35-year-olds, with absolutely a special needs situation, where we're going for the special needs folks, our state parks, the broadcasters have stepped up, and God knows I love them totally to death for doing that, because I was asked a question, and I can't recall the lady's name, and she said, what are you going to do in Wayne County? And I said, we need you. And Bob, we need you too. We need everybody that's pulling the rope and helping us in everything, because West Virginia has been the leader, and West Virginia was faster to get to the wall than other states will be and everything. That's good stuff. That's really good stuff, because being faster to get to the wall, we saved a pot full of lives. Now what we're doing, we're stepping back and we're trying to calculate a way and a strategy for us to get over the top of the mountain. Bob, there's lots, and I'm going to pass all the accolades to my team that's around me and all the great folks that really have, all I do is really, when I get really dead on something, I push and I push and I push and everything, because it is just this important. We're saving lives. That's all there is to it. 21 today, 21. I mean, it's a crying shame and everything. But with all that, as we all keep pulling the rope together, I've got some great folks around me, and we're going to get there.
All right, thank you, Bob. Next, we'll go to Mark Curtis with Nexstar Media.
Good afternoon, Governor and staff and fellow reporters. First of all, Governor, thanks for the shout out to the Broadcasters Association. We're very happy to do this and put our megaphone out there, all the individual stations in our group. There's a lot of them. And so we're glad to help get the word out and encourage people to get vaccinations. My question is, and I want to drill down a little bit on how we're going to get to the 12 to 15-year-olds. Are we going to have clinics in middle schools? Will it be all middle schools or a centrally located middle school? And will there be a downloadable form on your website where it's an authorization form that parents can download and sign so that they don't necessarily have to be present when their kids get the shots?
Okay, I'm gonna pass to Clayton and back to General Hoyer on this, but before I go, Mark, again, I can't thank the broadcasters enough. You wield such a strong stick and you're so, so, so important. And stepping up like this is, I mean, it's really meaningful. And the good Lord only knows, you know, the number of lives that you'll save. And I don't know if that's 1 or 100 or 1,000, you know, but it's substantial. And so I thank you again and again. And the only other thing I would say is this on the 12 to 15-year-olds, and I wrote myself this note, you know, there's good and bad. You know, the bad is we want to not take our focus off of this group from 16 to 35. And absolutely, we don't want to take our focus off all the people, you know, 65 and above and on and on. But really and truly, we are dialed into 16 and 35. Now, if we add 12 to 15, it's going to be helpful from the standpoint of our total population. But absolutely, we've got to conquer this 16 to 35. So there's going to be some good. There's no question. There's going to be good. But at the same time, we got to stay on task and everything. And so Clayton, if you and the general could answer or add some more to this, that'd be good.
Absolutely, and I'll let General Hoyer tag in with me. But we watched the rollout of vaccinations when we began with educators and service personnel and everybody involved in the school system. And the ability for the schools to put those together with local partnerships, with the Joint Task Association, it went so well. And I think General Hoyer will be able to speak to just how efficient it was actually done. As we travel around and talk to the principals and the school leaders, the governor's correct. We were really, really targeting these high school students in 16. Adding the 12 mark, to kind of answer your question, is yes, the goal would actually be that we continue those processes of using local health officers. Some of our schools have health clinics and others stepped up to assist us. We want to make this easy for the families. And we are actually used to schools being able to work with families on permission forms and things like that. So schools are already equipped to work with their families to get those parental permission slips and educate their families. So General Hoyer, I'll let you kind of add in.
Yeah, Mark, as Clayton pointed out, we've been really successful with this, and it's due to a lot of the behind-the-scene works with the folks from the Interagency Task Force, the county school boards, the county health departments, county emergency managers, principals, and the State Department of Education has been an incredible partner with us. So we feel like we've got this down. We know what we need to do on ordering doses with the Pfizer vaccine, and a lot of great community partners, again, including pharmacies and hospitals and FQHCs, and everybody are ready to go and ready to execute once we get the approval from the federal government to do this.
All right, thank you, Mark. Next to Paul Mullen with WCBC.
Good afternoon, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. Nationally, there have been a number of stories about people not coming back and getting their second shot of a vaccine. I wanted to know if that is a problem that's creeping up on West Virginia, and if you have a plan to reach out to those people to get them back in for that second shot. And maybe as a third part to that question, how much time would you have beyond your 21 or 28 days to get a second shot and still have it be as valuable as the regular vaccine regimen? Thank you.
Okay, Paul, let me defer the last question because I don't know the answer, you know, on how many days you have after your scheduled due date and everything. But I can tell you this, that we've got 53.7% of the population, of the eligible population today with first round shots and 44.2% with second round shots. So we've gotten 80%. 80% plus of the people that had their first shot have been in and gotten their second shot. And I'm sure we've got a bunch more that are still scheduled and everything. So I really think The follow-up on the second shot has been tremendously successful in West Virginia, and if I'm wrong about that, General, I'd welcome you to speak up and tell me. Answering the tail end of the question, if someone would, Dr. Marsh or someone, could follow up on that. But I think we're really, really strong on the second shots.
Hi, Governor and Paul. It's 6 weeks per the CDC, so 42 days after the first shot is considered within that window.
In general, maybe you could follow up on the first and second shots.
Yes, sir, Governor. As you pointed out, we actually have one of the best rates in the country of uptake of second shots. I know a number of people have seen national news where there's a significant problem across the country. But right now, West Virginia is not seeing that. Our citizens are stepping up and taking their second dose, and we're managing an exceptionally good rate right now of uptake.
To me, just a second, Paul, and I say this to all of the media folks that are on with us and everything, but. All of these things, not only do we need your help, and gosh knows how much we appreciate the broadcasters from the standpoint of stepping up and messaging, to our 16 and 35-year-olds, because that's huge, but we need your help also in granted, I would be first to say if we've done something wrong or we've got a shortcoming and everything, point it out. Point it out. You'll help us, and we'll try to look at it as positive as we possibly can, and we'll try to get better, and I'm for that. But at the same time, just what the General just said, and just what I was just saying, if we have a story to tell about how West Virginians are stepping up and taking their second round shots, and either leading the nation or in the top, rankings within the nation and everything, report that, please, because that helps us. That makes people in West Virginia feel absolutely comfortable. You see, I don't care if you report it for me. I mean, for crying out loud, I don't care about that at all. But I care about this. If you've got somebody out there that's watching the television and they're saying, watching the TV, they're seeing that a lot of people across the country are reluctant to take their second shot. And then you see a lot of people that, that are sitting there saying, Johnson & Johnson, we just paused Johnson & Johnson because people are developing blood clots. And there that person sits. And that person says, I don't know if I'm going to take that second shot. And then they decide, no, they're not going to do it. And then we end up losing that person. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about something that is good for Jim Justice or good for General Hoyer or good for whomever. We're talking about a life. We're talking about a life. And if they in turn hear that West Virginians are stepping up for their second round shots more than anybody in the nation, then they feel comfortable. And then they want to go. They want to be part of the whole process. And so help us there. That's what I'm saying. The more goodness that we can report when we do good, the better off all of us will be in my book. So thank you a bunch again.
All right, thank you, Paul. Next, we'll go to June Leffler with West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Hello, Governor and panel. The Biden administration has put a sort of a benchmark time frame on when they want to get 70% of the population vaccinated. They're saying July 4th. I'm wondering if you guys are viewing it in the same way, trying to get 70% by July 4th, or any sort of timeline you have on getting these vaccinations up to par. Thank you.
June, listen, from my standpoint, I love it. I love it, from the standpoint that the faster we can get there, the faster we're going to be able to get rid of these masks, the faster we're going to be able to, as a nation, get back to being able to be at ball games and enjoying our families and being at picnics and everything and enjoying our neighbors and getting back to some level of normalcy. I mean, you know, just like Clayton Birch said that kid that was a 18-year-old senior and said to his fellow students, you know, for God's sakes, take the vaccine. If you don't want your senior year to suck, and that's what he said, if you don't want that to happen, take the vaccine. Because basically he's saying that his senior year was pretty tough, was really pretty tough. So really and truly, if the Biden administration is targeting July the 4th, well, we want to beat them to that. We want to beat them to that because West Virginia wants to lead, and we want to beat anything that is coming from a national perspective. But I salute and congratulate, and you know, I want it more than anybody. I'll promise you that.
All right, thank you, June. Next to Taylor Stuck with the Herald-Dispatch.
Hi, Governor. Hi, everyone. With the push to get 16 to 35-year-olds, I was wondering if you had considered anything that would require students at our higher institutions of public learning to require the vaccine before they attend school. I've been told that our public institutions can't require that themselves, that they would need that to be a state law. So would that be something that you would support or help to get passed? Or have you thought about that and maybe that's not the route you would like to take? Thank you.
I think, and I'm going to have to double check this, but I think that's a little incorrect. I think that our public institutions can require that, but in colleges that are around the country, I think public, and don't hold me to this, but I think public institutions are, in many places across the country, requiring that. And we're looking at it. You know, I hate like crazy to keep, you know, coming out with things that says you've got to do this and everything. And it would be so much better if we did it on a voluntary basis and we were able to pull it off and everything. But we're looking at all of it and working with all of our institutions and everything because daggone, I mean, you know, if, especially we got kids coming in from out of state and everything else and everything, you know, it's something that they ought to step up and do, that's for sure.
All right, thank you, Taylor. Next to Phil Kabler with the Charleston Gazette-Mail.
Hello, everyone. Governor, I wondered if you could explain your extreme tardiness today. You rolled in about more than an hour late with no explanation or an apology. And it seems to be an extreme example of a pattern of lateness with these briefings.
Well, Phil, I don't know what in the world you're talking about, to tell you the honest truth, unless my communications people have messed it up because you know, I told them day before yesterday or whenever we were going at 1 o'clock today, and so if we've messed it up, you know, I promise you, if I'd have rolled in an hour late and everything, I would have been the first to have told you that and offered up the apology. But I don't have a clue what in the world you're talking about unless somebody on the communication side messed it up.
All right, Governor, we'll turn it back to you.
Okay. I guess I try to make myself notes as we go. And the first note I made is, again, a really special thanks to our broadcasters, a special thanks to those that are working, you know, Everbridge, from the standpoint that we picked up in one day, we picked up an extra 973 people, or if I'm right on the number. A special thanks to all those in the Kanawha County and the Charleston area and everything, as far as helping out to come up with a creative way and with the special needs clinic at the Bible Center. And a special thanks again to all those with our state parks that are stepping up through tourism, through Steve McDaniel and Chelsea Ruby and all those across the land that are stepping up with vaccination clinics there. Our people continue to work really hard as far as, as far as everything goes with trying to get our 16 to 35-year-olds and get them, all in place to be able to get more and more and more of that population vaccinated and work through all the different aspects of everything from the savings bonds right on down. If you'll again watch the national news, we've had a lot of hits and a lot of interest, from different people that are calling in. I think even yesterday the governor of Connecticut called and with wanting to inquire about what we were doing in regard to that, as well as I know the people over in Kentucky have called. And again, I'm going to fall back on just this. I want our experts to give me a number, that they would be comfortable with the mandatory mask in our public buildings. Give me a number, give me a percentage that they would be absolutely comfortable that we could back off the mask in our public buildings and everything. But knowing that this is, there's some level of risk and everything, and we surely want to get rid of this terrible inconvenience and everything, but at the same time, we want to absolutely be prudent and safe to all of our people. And the last thing I would add, with all the stuff that we've reported today, and Phil, I'm really, really glad to see that you're on top of the news and everything, and going to be concerned the most over the fact that maybe there was a posting in error about the timing of the briefing. But Phil, you just stay on top of your job and keep on throwing off on our service personnel and our foster children and just do the great stuff that you've done for years and years for the contribution you've made to the state of West Virginia. So proud of you.